Ever felt like the whole world of stocks is, well, just a little too complicated? Today, we are going to break it all down with a super simple story. It's all about a dog, his dream, and a whole lot of bones. All right, first things first, let's meet our hero, Doggo. And, like all good boys, he's got a really big dream. Doggo wants to open the best, most delicious, premium organic bone bakery in the entire world. There's just one tiny little problem. He's totally broke. And, well, you can't build a bakery without any bones to start with.
So this brings up a huge question, not just for our pal Doggo, but really for anyone with a big idea. How in the world do you get something off the ground when you're starting with, well, nothing?
But Doggo doesn't give up. No way. He gets creative. He comes up with this brilliant plan. He'll go to the other dogs in the neighborhood and offer them a tiny little piece of his future bakery. In exchange, they give him the bones he needs to get started.
And that tiny slice, that right there, is a stock. It's not some complicated bit of financial magic. It's not a lottery ticket. It is a real, actual, legal piece of a business. And this is probably the most important part to remember. When you buy a stock in Doggo's bakery, you're not just giving him a bone for fun. You are becoming a part owner. You're on the team now. His success is your success.
So you gotta ask, why would any other doggo do this? What's in it for them? Well, a few big reasons. For one, as owners, they get to share in the profits if the bakery does well. Sometimes, the bakery might even hand out some of those extra profits as bonus bones. Those are called dividends. And of course, if the bakery becomes a huge hit, that tiny slice they bought could become way, way more valuable.
Okay, so you own a slice. But what does that really mean, and what makes that slice go up in value? Let's get into it.
Now here's something that trips people up all the time. You hear the words stocks and shares thrown around, and a lot of folks use them like they're the exact same thing, but they're just a little bit different.
Here is the absolute easiest way to think about it. The entire company, Doggo's whole bakery, is like a skeleton. Your stock is your overall ownership in that whole skeleton. The shares, those are just the individual bones that make up the skeleton. So the more shares or bones you own, the bigger your piece of the skeleton is. Simple, right?
All right, that makes total sense, but it brings up the next big question. Why do the prices of those little bones seem to bounce all over the place? One day they're up, the next they're down. What is going on?
It all comes down to one simple word: expectations. The price isn't really about how the bakery's doing today, it's about what all the other doggos out there think is going to happen tomorrow. If everyone expects awesome new bone flavors and huge sales, the price goes up. If they get worried about the future, the price goes down.
And when you get all those expectations, all that excitement, and all that fear together in one place, you get what we call the market. Or, for our story, let's call it the dog park of money.
And honestly, that's a perfect way to picture it. The stock market is just a giant dog park. You've got doggos everywhere buying bones, selling bones, barking about the next big thing, and yeah, sometimes totally panicking over nothing.
And this dog park, it really only has two main moods. On a good day, prices are rising, everyone's tail's wagging, they all feel like geniuses. That's a bull market. But then there are the other days. Prices are falling, everyone gets nervous, and suddenly starts saying they're a long-term investor. That's a bear market. Same park, totally different vibe.
So with all this buying and selling and panicking going on, how does a smart doggo actually invest their bones? Well, this brings us to a really, really important strategy.
Just think about it. What if Doggo takes every single bone he has and puts it all into one single bakery? I mean, if that bakery becomes a smash hit, great. But what if it fails? Poof, he loses everything. That is a huge, huge risk to take.
Luckily, there's a much smarter way. Instead of betting the whole farm on one bakery, Doggo can buy something called a fund. This lets him own a tiny little piece of Bakery A and a tiny piece of Bakery B and maybe a little piece of the local squeaky toy factory. You get the idea. He's spreading his bones out across lots of different businesses. Now, this strategy has a fancy-sounding name: diversification. But all it really truly means is this: don't put all your bones in one hole. It's that simple. If one business doesn't do so well, you've got others to back you up. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. You know what? This all sounds kind of stressful. Isn't it just safer to take my bones and bury them in the backyard? And that sounds safe, but there's a quiet enemy you're not thinking about, and its name is inflation. Here's the problem with burying your bones. A year from now, that bone you buried, it's still one bone. But the cost of dog food, chew toys, trips to the vet,
Everything else has gotten more expensive. So your buried bones are actually losing their value over time. They buy less and less.
And this leads us to our final and honestly our most important lesson. This is the real secret to building a serious collection of bones in the dog park of money.
The single biggest mistake that any doggo can make isn't picking the wrong bakery. It's not buying at the wrong time. It's panicking. It's when the market gets scary and everything turns red, and the first instinct is just to sell everything and run away. Historically, that has been the absolute worst thing you can do. Because here's the secret. Building wealth in the market isn't for the smartest doggos, or even the luckiest ones. It's for the most patient ones. The ones who can stay calm, who keep investing, and just let time do its thing. Because those are the ones who don't just end up with a few extra bones, they're the ones who end up with the whole skeleton.